Hi, and welcome to my presentation. The topic I chose is how does child abuse impact the mental health and relationships of Generation Z and millennials? The generational interview with Generation Z served as a primary catalyst for this research. Her adverse history, stating that her family members were abusive and her time around them was bad, her current status, despite the past, she reported currently maintaining a good relationship with her parents. So, what is child abuse? Child abuse refers to actions by individuals responsible for nurturing, supervising, or exercising control over children that cause actual or potential harm to the child's health, survival, development, or dignity. Four types of child abuse are neglect, physical abuse, sexual abuse, and emotional abuse. Adverse childhood experiences is known as ACEs. ACEs refer to distressing, often traumatic events occurring before the age of 18. These include physical, sexual, and emotional abuse, neglect, and household dysfunction. They are charted using an ACE score of 0 to 10. They're calculated via a survey that assigns 1 point for each of 10 types of trauma experienced, identifying risk for chronic disease and social challenges. As the number of ACEs increases, so does the risk for negative health outcomes. Adverse childhood experiences include physical abuse, physical neglect, household member who suffered from mental health issues, sexual abuse, loss of a parent due to death, divorce, or abandonment, emotional abuse, emotional neglect, household member addicted to illegal drugs and or alcohol, household members who were incarcerated, witnessing domestic violence against their mother. Adverse childhood experiences have been linked to risky health behaviors, chronic health conditions, low life potential, and early death. The impact on mental health, psychological symptoms, toxic stress, anxiety and depression, PTSD, memory problems, shame and guilt, withdrawal, and isolation. Developmental and structural impact, brain structure changes, attachment issues, cognitive and learning problems, social and behavioral issues. Harvard defines toxic stress as excessive or prolonged activation of stress response systems in the body and brain. Abuse puts a significant amount of stress on children and can disrupt the natural development of their brains. According to the World Health Organization, this stress can weaken how a child's nervous system and immune system develop. As a result, survivors of childhood abuse are at an increased risk of physical and mental health problems. The mental and emotional results of abuse can appear in various ways, affecting children well into adulthood. Conditions such as anxiety, depression, and memory problems often continue throughout their lives. Feelings of shame and guilt are also common, with children sometimes blaming themselves for the situation or viewing themselves as somehow broken. To hide the abuse from others, they may withdraw, isolate, and have a hard time making friends. Additionally, someone who experienced childhood abuse may have intrusive thoughts, flashbacks, and nightmares. These are often symptoms of PTSD. Child abuse and neglect also have been associated with certain regions of the brain failing to form, function, or grow properly. For example, a history of maltreatment may be correlated with reduced volume in overall brain size and may affect the size or functioning of the following brain regions: the amygdala, which is key processing emotions, the hippocampus, which is central to learning and memory, the frontal cortex, which is responsible for reinforcement based decision making and emotion regulation, the cerebellum, which helps coordinate motor behavior and executive functioning, the corpus callosum, which is responsible for left brain right brain communication and other processes. Attachment issues. Abuse by caregivers breaks the foundation of trust, leading to severe difficulties forming secure relationships with peers, partners, and authority figures. Cognitive and learning problems. The brain's constant survival mode can hinder executive functioning, including working memory, self control, and the ability to concentrate, leading to lower academic achievement. Social and behavior issues. Survivors may struggle with social skills, withdrawal, or display excessive anger and aggression. How relationships are affected. Key ways childhood trauma affects adult relationships include attachment insecurity, Trauma often leads to either anxious attachment, the fear of rejection and high dependency, or avoidant attachment, emotional detachment, keeping partners at a distance. Trust and intimacy issues. Difficulty opening up emotionally is common, as survivors may fear being hurt, leading them to feel unsafe even in supportive relationships. Fear of abandonment. Small conflicts or changes in routine can trigger extreme anxiety about being abandoned. Emotional regulation. Survivors may struggle to manage emotions, leading to intense anger or overwhelming sadness during disagreements. Others may shut down or disassociate during conflict. Repetition of unhealthy patterns. Unhealed trauma can lead individuals to subconsciously recreate chaotic or abusive dynamics from their past and current relationships, or staying in a current relationship longer than they should to settle for stability. Communication challenges, difficulty communicating needs, passive aggressive behavior, or mirroring harmful communication styles seen in childhood. When we don't learn how to have productive and healthy management of conflict, we also don't know how to repair a relationship after the inevitable conflict that happened in partnerships. This can look like pretending it didn't happen, not knowing when or how to compromise on an issue, or giving the silent treatment. Some long term impacts on dynamics. The studies indicate that childhood emotional maltreatment specifically correlates with poorer relationship quality, reduced intimacy, and higher divorce rates. These impacts are not fixed. However, as many survivors build healthy, lasting connections through self awareness and often professional support. Erickson's theory: identity versus role confusion. Adults who experience abuse can struggle to form a stable sense of self, leading to identity confusion. Intimacy versus isolation. Mistrust and low self esteem from childhood make it difficult for adults to form committed, healthy, romantic relationships, leading to social isolation, which in turn is a major factor for mental health challenges. High risk behaviors. Psychological trauma manifests as high risk coping mechanisms such as substance use disorder. Erickson's model helps explain a regression to earlier development stages for safety or comfort. Researchers suggest that clinicians use Erickson stages to identify where a survivor's development was interrupted to provide a more targeted therapeutic support. The studies compare the dose response relationship between ACEs and adult mental health. The generational vulnerability, highlighting increased risk factors in younger generations, and the shared outcomes consistency in mental health issues observed across all analyzed articles. With this research, I have a better understanding on how early childhood trauma affects us as adults. I think the Gen Z and millennials are focusing more on their mental health than generations in the past. They're breaking cycles and putting themselves first. They're taking a healthier approach by going no contact to the ones who dealt the trauma. I don't think going no contact is fragile. I think it is strong and the best thing for their mental health. In conclusion, childhood abuse isn't just a past event. It's still happening now, but I see it being better in the future. Through therapy and awareness, Gen Z and millennials are proving that while they didn't choose their start, they're choosing a different ending.